Salutations, welcome to Loving the Language of Literacy. My name is Ophelia, and today I'm doing a holiday book haul. This has pretty much become a tradition on my channel where I have my Black Friday book outlet haul. It's a big smash. I get like 25 books or something like that. And then right in the vicinity of it, I have to do another book haul because of all the books I've received as presents, as well as bought for myself and took advantage of the amazing, awesome deals that are on the internet. And that burn holes in my pockets. You know how it is as a book nerd. I'll be showing you the 10 books I have managed to acquire in the past month. Yeah, I am that bad of a person. The first book I have here is Ice Like Fire by Sarah Rosh, which is the sequel to Snow Like Ashes. It was literally like the second or third to last book I read last year. It just barely made it into my top 14 books 2014, and I'm so happy that it did. I don't think we'll get to the sequel this year. What I do remember of it, which is not that much, this follows a very strong female character named Mira, and this entire universe is set with 4 seasons and 4 rhythms, and each one of the seasons is perpetually in the said season, and the rhythms have the classic 4 seasons. They interact a lot, they clash, they have bad blood between them, and Mira personally is part of the Winter Kingdom, and she is charged with protecting Mather, who is the heir to the throne of Winter. And there are probably only like 30 to 50 Wintarians even still alive. And I am glad to have the next installment, which I got from my lovely sister Emma, who actually bought this for herself. But we had this like kind of unspoken, okay, it is spoken about, agreement between us where if she has one book, but I buy the sequel to it, I kind of automatically get her first book, especially if she hasn't read it, and vice versa. So while she has read Snow Like Ashes, I owned it first, and therefore I get Ice Like Fire, because why on earth would I want to put up these absolutely gorgeous covers? Like, am I right? The second book I have here is one that I bought for myself when I took advantage of the recent Barnes & Noble 2 for $20 young adult sale. It had the most amazing options ever, and I'm so glad that I jumped on it. My sister actually told me about it, and that's when I purchased Tonight the Streets Are Ours by Layla Sales. I don't know anything besides the fact that I really, really wanted to read it, and now I have it in my hands. I don't often buy books unless I'm either have read them or I'm absolutely certain that I will love them, or at least respect them and enjoy having bought them. Point is, I bought this book. This Song Will Save Your Life made it somewhere onto my top 14 books of 2014 last year, so I automatically think that Layla Sales is going to be amazing, and she's kind of an auto-buy author at this point. I don't know, I've only read one of her books, but it was so stunning, and that's what she is to me now. I don't remember anything in this book besides spontaneity, New York City, and a random author. 17-year-old Arden finds solace in the blog of an aspiring writer who lives in New York City, but when she goes to meet him, she discovers that he is a very different person than she believes him to be. I anticipate this to be all about expectation versus reality. It seems like a pretty formulaic young adult novel, but at the same time, everything that seems formulaic when done by a very good author is never what it seems. The other half of the 2 for $20 YA sale is The Boy Most Likely To by Huntley Fitzpatrick. It's a companion novel to a book I read in November. It was one of the best contemporary romances I've read in so long. To my knowledge, this follows Tim Mason and Alice Garrett. The premise of this novel is basically that he was the boy most likely to find the liquor cabinet blindfolded, need a liver transplant, and drive his car into a house, while Alice was the girl most likely to, well, not date her little brother's baggage-burdened best friend. It is a story of opposites attract, as well as finding someone you wouldn't expect when you actually get to know this person. The next book I have here, I know nothing about. I know I've seen it around on Goodreads, and it is something that my parent gave to me for Hanukkah, and I'm very appreciative and grateful, and that is The Hired Girl by Laura Amy Schlitz. I'm going to call her that. To my knowledge, this is an adult historical fiction novel about a 14-year-old girl who is a servant in this grand household, and she is spending this one summer, I believe, chronicling her life in this diary. To me, it seems like sort of a more mature, grown-up Dear America kind of novel. You know what I'm talking about, and I've read this. Please confirm that, because I loved the format of the Dear America books, and in 2nd grade, I read almost every single one. I haven't read a good historical fiction in a long time, so I'm very appreciative that I got this one to try out. The next book I have here is Winter by Marissa Meyer, the epic conclusion to the Lunar Chronicles. If you aren't aware, the Lunar Chronicles follows the sci-fi retellings of classic fairy tales, Cinderella, Little Red Riding Hood, Rapunzel, and then of course Snow White. I've heard nothing but good things about the way the story ends. You would think this is like 400 pages, right? Wrong. This is 800 pages. Everyone has been saying they're Bible thin. I'm not certain whether I'm actually going to read this book or whether I will audiobook it, just because Little Chronicles aren't my favorite of all time. But I do have high hopes with Marissa Meyer, because while the stories themselves don't engage me as much as some others have, the actual art of storytelling and the way that she weaves all these characters together into this huge tapestry of the actual world is astounding. By the way, I made my sister get this for me for Hanukkah in Barnes & Noble because it's a signed copy. We're gonna move on to another book that I was gifted from my godmother, actually. Again, I have no clue what this is about. I read the synopsis right before I turned the camera on, so let's see how much I botched it up. And that is the Poisonwood Bible by Barbara Kingsolver. This is set in 1959 Africa, following the 4 daughters of Nathan Price, and apparently has to do with one family's tragic undoing and remarkable reconstruction over the course of 3 decades in post-colonial Africa. I personally have not read a single book, I think, ever set in Africa, unless you count the brief period of time where the Lunar Chronicles crashed into Africa on their satellite. But I'm very intrigued. Thank you so much, Dan, for providing me with a very different kind of book to read. Then we have a novel which I have Instagrammed about. I've done a video featuring it, and I finished reading it this month, and that is Why Not Me by Mindy Kaling. If you don't know, I benefited from the Black Friday Barnes & Noble sale and got a signed copy. I adored As Everybody Hanging Out Without Me and Other Concerns. It was a very, I was about to say it was a solid sequel, but it obviously kind of was a sequel. It sort of jumped around through different personal essays of Mindy Kaling following her life, and it went a lot more in depth in terms of her actual job and her work on the Mindy Project and The Office and the overall experiences she has gone through in her life. And I don't really know how to compare the two. The first, in my opinion, was a lot funnier, but it also had a lot of information that didn't make much sense to someone like myself who has not watched much with her in it. Feelings are mixed, 4 to 5 stars, solid memoir. I love reading things by Mindy Kaling because they're so infectious. The other book I could not help but buy at the Barnes & Noble Black Friday sale is, of course, The Sword of Summer, book 1 in Magna's Chasing the Gods of Asgard series by Rick Riordan. And it is a signed copy. I actually turned it upside down because I apparently can't put a book back in its jacket. All my thoughts are in the wrap up. You should probably just go check that out. If you haven't read Percy Jackson, I have no idea what I'm talking about, definitely give it a go. If you have, just be forewarned that it seems very similar in terms of overall structure, but I did enjoy the story, and I'm excited to see where these sequels go in terms of the whole saga of the Norse gods, because I know absolutely nothing about them. Then we have a book also bought on the Black Friday Barnes & Noble sale, but not by myself. I actually was there with one of my best friends, Ella, and I was like, hey, you want to buy me a birthday gift right now? And she actually did. It is a signed copy of The Rose Society by Marie Lu, book 2 in the Young Elites trilogy. I don't remember that much from the Young Elites. Obviously, this is much darker than the Legend trilogy, which is different. It's set in a sort of fantasy renaissance world where this blood plague has left a lot of young children with all of these ghastly superpowers, and they are treated as outcasts. The main character, who is an anti-hero, Adelina Armaturu, I can't pronounce that for the record, is beginning the Rose Society, which is another group opposite of the Young Elites who are trying to do good, and she is not good. Obviously, she's an anti-hero, which makes her a villain. If you didn't pick that up. Lastly, we have a book that my dear sister gave me for Hanukkah, which of course I made her buy me. You know how great of a sister I am. And that is Walkin with a Stranger by Ray Carson. I read this partially as an audiobook, partly as a physical book. So there's something about her writing. You don't really see where it's going. You don't really see why you like her so much. And then by around 75-80%, you are absolutely on fire and so invested in the characters and the story and the world that Ray Carson has developed. And this is a trilogy. It is technically historical fiction and made me feel like I was on the frickin' Oregon Trail, besides the fact that this girl has this magical ability to sense gold. But it's not treated so much as magic, but more as a witchcraft and kind of a folklore quality to it rather than actual magic. I would definitely call it historical fiction. Lee is an independent female protagonist who actually chooses to be a feminist, make herself separate from the constructs of the society in the 1800s, but she still, at the same time, embraces her femininity. Tell me in the comments below what books you have acquired this holiday season. I personally celebrate Hanukkah and not Christmas, so this kind of would be a what I got for Christmas video, but It's for Hanukkah / my birthday, because my birthday is on the 11th. Tell me which one of the books that I have obtained that you have read, which ones you've heard about, what you anticipate, and what the best book you've gotten this holiday season has been. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Keep calm, read on, and I'll see you video soon. Goodbye. If you enjoyed this video and like to see more like it, give it a big thumbs up and leave me a comment below. If you liked it even more, hit the subscribe button. All my social media is at SLSBooks, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, etc. And my previous videos are below me.